Good morning. Wow. Now my blood's pumping. Today's scripture reading is from Matthew chapter 5, verses 1 through 12. I'll be reading from the New Revised Standard Version Bible. Please listen for these holy words. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him. Then he began to speak, and taught them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they may be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you." A holy reading for the people of God.
Thank you so much, Melissa, for reading our scripture this morning. I've gotten into reading again. I mean, I've always obviously been a reader. If you're going to be a pastor, a storyteller, you should probably be a reader. But I will be honest, like, when life gets busy, sometimes reading takes a toll. And yet, one of the things that I've loved is that Everly Joy is now at a time where she's getting really into story. And anybody here a Junie B. Jones fan? Okay, we just got the box set, and we are just working our way through those books. Oh, she is so sassy and just like Everly Joy. So she is just loving reading those books, but it's got me reading a bunch of other books, too, during my free time. And I came across an oldie but a goodie the other day. Has anybody read Hope for the Flowers? Oh, my goodness. You're kidding. Like, nobody in here. Okay, all right. Immediately, Emilio, okay, you will understand this. Of course, I mean, what book? Have you not read a book? Like, is there one that you have not read? Possibly, maybe out there somewhere. Emilio is an avid reader. So this is a old book, like old, but it is so good. It's kind of like a children's book. Every page has a picture on it, but it is for adults. It is a very heavy, very good book. So let me take just a minute to tell you the story. You're going to need to know the story to understand this morning's sermon. So there's a little caterpillar who is born out of an egg and starts to do caterpillary things, starts to eat leaves and find holes to dig in, and is like having a good life, but just isn't satisfied, right? Anybody here feel like that? So the caterpillar keeps just kind of searching for its purpose in the world, searching for what might make it ultimately not just joyful, but happy, you know. Some of us search for happiness, right? And so one day, the caterpillar, his name is Sipe, he's black and white striped caterpillar, he finds a pile of other worms climbing to what looks like the heavens. They are just climbing on top of each other and making this pile of caterpillars. And they are saying, you can't believe what's at the top. You can't believe what's at the top. So Stripe's like, maybe this is it. Maybe this is the ultimate purpose. When I can make it to the top, I will understand the best parts of this life. So Stripe jumps into the pile and starts to climb, but the pile's rough. It's like climb or be climbed, right? Like you're either on it or you're getting kind of like shoved down to the bottom of the pile. Anybody know what that feels like? One day on the pile, he spots another caterpillar, bright yellow. She kind of stands out to him, and she's getting climbed over rapidly, but she's getting climbed over more rapidly than he is because she's starting to ask the question, is it worth it to get to the top? It just is starting to not feel worth it. So they decide, they have a meet cute, and they decide that maybe there's more to life than the pile, and they give each other a hug. And they give each other an embrace so tight they don't want to let go. But what happens is because they're not climbing anymore, they're embracing one another, they start to fall down and down and down until they let go of their embrace and they recognize that they're at the bottom. And Yellow says, I'm going to go. I'm going to go back to the woods. I'm going to go eat. I'm hungry. I'm going to go fulfill myself with other things. Do you want to come along? And Stripe says, sure, because that wasn't fun. And so they go back into the woods and they enjoy life together and they fall in love. And they have a good life, but Stripe begins to say, even this doesn't feel like enough. And he wonders again about the top. And so one day he goes back to the pile and he watches the climbers and he starts to get an idea. Maybe if I eat enough and I get really big and strong, I can probably beat all of the other caterpillars. They seem to be, wasting away on the pile, but I'll go and prepare for the climb and I'll come back. And so he goes back to Yellow and says, I'm going to try the pile again. And he eats and he eats and he strengthens himself up and he says, Yellow, let's go. And she says, no. I can't do it. I can't do it again. There's nothing, I think, at the top that I want. And so they leave each other. Stripe can't not find out what life is all about at the top. And so he goes back to the pile and starts to climb, and Yellow misses him, and she's starting to feel like there is something missing, but I just don't think it's at the top of the pile. So she starts to go on sort of an exploration, a faith journey, if you will. Until finally one day she sees a caterpillar doing something really weird up in a tree. It seems to be wrapping itself in darkness. And she calls out to it and says, what are you doing? And he says, I've chosen to take time out. I've chosen to take time away. I've chosen to go into a cocoon that I might be transformed. Transformed to what? Said Yellow. And he said, a butterfly. And she had heard that word distantly in the past, and she thought, a butterfly? Those are those beautiful creatures that fly far, far above with gorgeous wings and expansive amounts of freedom. You can't ever become a butterfly. You're a caterpillar like me. And he said, I've been told that if you take time out and you go into the utter darkness and you wrestle, you can become a butterfly. So she waited and she watched, and it took a really long time, but she kept coming back to this cocoon that this caterpillar had made until one day, sure enough, he broke free. And so she decided she would go on a journey of transformation, and she made her own cocoon. Meanwhile, back on the pile, Stripe is getting very close to the top. He's well prepared for the journey. In fact, the other caterpillars start to call him ruthless. He's not taking any time to see who he's climbing over. He is on a mission to the top, and nothing will stand in his way. In fact, he yells out to the other caterpillars, "It's not my fault. I just did what I needed to do. I got strong, and I'm making it to the top. You can do the same." And so he starts to journey, but he starts to hear some rumbling the closer he gets to the top. He starts to hear some people saying, "This is it?" And then he hears another caterpillar say, "Shh, they'll hear you." "But what are we here for?" the caterpillars ask. And the other caterpillar says, "Because we finally have what they want. That's what's at the top." So Stripe keeps climbing, but he's starting to doubt that he made the right choice. Till one day at the very top, as he's watching some even fall off, it's getting so cutthroat at the top, he sees this beautiful yellow butterfly fly by. And he feels sort of a connection. Could it be? Till one day he gives up. He's gotten to the top. All there is just more fighting, more need. And the top is a lie. It's an illusion. There is nothing to gain, he realizes, and he falls all the way back down to go and find Yellow again. But Yellow's not there. There's a butterfly, though, and she seems to take interest in him, but she no longer speaks the caterpillar language. She's been transformed into a new creation, but she seems very interested in him, and she takes him out to the forest and shows him an empty cocoon. She puts her head and her legs into it, and then she flies down and rubs his back with her feelers, almost as though she's encouraging him to go into this dark, weird place. Until one day it all kind of makes sense to him, and he decides to go on the cocoon journey. And through the darkness is himself transformed into a butterfly. Until one day they both fly together and free. And I love the last page. It says the end. And then you flip to the next one, and all the other caterpillars are crawling to cocoons themselves. And it says, or maybe it's just the beginning. The reason this book and why I would take so much time to tell you, I thought maybe you had read it before, but that's okay. This book is absolutely the exact message that we hear in Matthew's gospel in the Sermon on the Mount. You see, Jesus is looking out at the crowds and he's calling them in the same way Yellow calls to Stripe, and he's saying, there's another way. There's another way to live. There's another way to be with one another. There's another way to be satisfied in this world. And so he starts to say things like, blessed are those who are poor in spirit, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are those who are meek, for they will receive the kingdom of heaven. How many times have you heard in maybe your where you work or maybe in your friend group, I am just so grateful to be mourning today. It is a good week because I feel meek. Like I'm not going to succeed at a single thing on my to-do list. It's going to be a good week. It is going to be the best because my spirit is just empty. This sounds ridiculous. Blessed are the poor in spirit. It's not just saying blessed are the financially poor. It's saying blessed are those who are completely empty inside themselves. Why would they be blessed? And yet, Yellow was the first one to find her way off the pile and to this longing journey towards transformation. And it is because she found herself completely empty and longing in the climb up the pile. I made a little joke when telling the story, but I asked, does that sound familiar to any of you? And I'll admit to you, it has sounded really familiar to me. And yet there's something so funny about us as followers of Jesus, because I think some of us say, you know what, I'll leave the corporate ladder because that does just seem cutthroat, right? I'll leave the corporate ladder and I will give my life to Jesus. And in that alone, I will find everything I've longed for. That is what I did with my life. But what I started to do was that I never took cocoon time. So instead of climbing the corporate ladder, I just decided to climb the church ladder. Oh, some of you are giving me funny looks. Let me tell you this part. You don't have to be a pastor to climb the church ladder. If you never take time to do cocoon work, to take time away from the climbing that this world says is the way to the top, it doesn't mean just the top of the corporation that you work for. It means the top of having the most friends. It means the top of having the home to entertain with. It means the top of having everything going for you, whether you're on nonprofit boards or you're just in a church where everybody is now asking you, oh, you seem to know all the answers. Look at your faith. That too is climbing a ladder. It's wanting to be the best. It's wanting to be on top. It doesn't matter what you're on top of. The climb can be to wherever, but there's something in you that says, I'm not enough down here. If I only could get there, life would be fulfilled for me. You fill in the blank of wherever there is for you. But when Yellow says, I've got to stop this, and she walks away, she finds slight fulfillment in the woods. She is in love with Stripe. She feels the sunshine on her face. Life is good, but when Stripe goes back to the pile and she's left alone, she is still not fulfilled. Do you notice that? We can leave the climb and feel like we're on a spiritual journey and never be fulfilled. I don't know if that feels familiar for any of you. But it isn't until Yellow has a moment where she sees another caterpillar choosing to die to itself for the hope of being made a new creation, that she understands the cost of true transformation. This is the part of the message that might not be happy. I'm convinced when reading through this book of Scripture, we will never truly understand what it is to live as a new creation in Christ if we do not enter the cocoon. If we do not take a season away from the noise and the pressure and the rush to say, I want to seek nothing more than to be transformed and molded by whatever the Holy Spirit wants for me. And unless we are willing to give it all up. See, it's not just, I'll leave this one or two things behind and still do what I want. It's giving it all up to crawl into the dark, quiet place where we wrestle with God, to let God change us and mold us anew, that we can truly be transformed. The thing that the butterfly doesn't ever even think about again is the top of the pile. The butterfly is flying. The butterfly is free. The butterfly has a totally different purpose with its life. It's to drink from the sweet nectar of the flowers and to transfer seed from one to another. It's to be a part of the creation of life in this world. But it's going to take giving up the pile, giving up the climb. You can't climb and be a butterfly. I'm convinced. And what I've seen time and time again is that we've got churches full of really beautiful caterpillars. Caterpillars who've walked away from a lot of piles, but who have never given the cocoon a chance because we are so scared of what it might ask of us. But when we read the scripture, I want to point out this one part as we close this morning. Did you notice at the very beginning, with Melissa starting to read this morning's scripture, did you notice the very first verse? Let me read it for you again. When Jesus saw the crowds, I'm going to rephrase. When Jesus saw the crowded pile, he went up the mountain. And after that, he sat down and began to preach to them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for they will receive the earth." Jesus is up on the pile with us, calling us, saying, there's another way, and I promise you that nothing you give up, nothing you say no to, nothing that you release from your grips will be for naught. Because nothing that you are holding on to is better than the freedom of flying in the transformed way of being one with Christ. 2 Corinthians reminds us that when we accept Christ, when we accept to follow him, we are a new creation. The old is gone, and the new has come. To live in a way that never again looks at the pile and says, but what if I would have gotten to the top? But here's the other part of this. Maybe that's not convincing enough for you. Maybe you're like, well, I'm comfortable here, wherever I am on the pile. It's pretty good, but here's the thing. This is why I love this book. I introduced you to this last week, and if you have not gotten it, but you want to be challenged, get this book. It is amazingly challenging. It's converting Christians to the Jesus ethic, and here's what Russell Pragent says about this choice to leave the pile and be transformed. This is the last part I'm going to share with you today. The Sermon on the Mount is in fact a description of what life in the kingdom of heaven is like. And here's why Jesus needs us to follow him down and into the cocoon of transformation. Because this is what Jesus says as soon as he shares the Beatitudes. Jesus closes with this. He says, my followers are the salt of the earth. The salt of the earth, chapter 5, verse 13 in Matthew, which does not mean, as some people misuse the phrase, it does not mean that my disciples are the elite, that they have it all figured out. Amen? But it means that those who follow Jesus all the way through the tomb to Easter morning of resurrection are the catalytic agents of transformation in this world. So here's what I leave us with today, church. If we don't, nobody else will. If we don't choose our way off the pile and into the tomb and towards Easter morning, nobody else will. And so when we look at a world that is dog eat dog and people are getting climbed over, and children are living their lives, and we say, God, come do something about it. God is looking at us and saying, you do something about it. Go. Walk away. Come be with me. I'm choosing to transform and use your heart as a catalytic agent of transformation in the world. I long to see the world redeemed, but I need the church. I need the church. Let us pray. God, we are here as your disciples this morning, some of us bearing huge weights on our lives. God, this morning, may we see the stuff that is on our plate as possible invitations to cocoon time. Invitations to mark ourselves away from the climb, that you might use our mourning, that you might use our meekness, that you might use our poverty of spirit, our lack of trust, that you might use it, Lord, to transform us. God, that we might believe so fervently in the kingdom coming that we live as though it's already here. God, that we live looking for others who are meek, looking for others who are mourning and poor in spirit, that we might invite them to join us. God, as we live in a new way, flying free from the chains and the weights that this world says are the way to the top. God, might we live differently to where loving our neighbor is the point. It is the prize. It is knowing you deeply. God, that when we come to love our neighbors as ourselves, we come to become one with you, and that is the thing that will ultimately satisfy us like nothing else will. God, might we be convinced by your love. Capture our imaginations. Transform the illusion that we have so long been fed and told. Might we truly, truly go another way. It's in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit we pray. Amen.